Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I want to talk to you guys about another one of these logical fallacies, because I did this the other day, that people make when they're discussing caliber choices for self-defense, personal defense, things like that, right? And it's really absurd, and I hate it when people do this, and the reason I do is that picking a weapon that you are going to use to defend your life, defend your home, defend your loved ones, is actually a pretty serious choice. It's actually something that you should put some thought into, right? It's something you should put some thought into. It's not a silly joking matter that you should just brush aside and, oh, you just pick whatever, right? I don't think you should do that. I think that's actually a serious thing that you need to sit down and think through what you're going to get for that purpose, right? But people make one of these other logical fallacies, just like the other one I made of, well, if you don't think this is the best choice, then let me shoot you with it, and I'll show you how good it is. It's going to hurt. So therefore, it must be an ideal self-defense weapon for whatever scenario, right? Total absurd logic. Well, in this next one, the best self-defense gun is one that you have and that you practice with, right? That's the best choice. And it's like they just completely throw any thought out the window. So this is actually what I visualize. So the people who make that statement, I visualize one of two things pops into my head. I envision them walking around with their deer hunting rifle, their 300 Win Mag, with 3 rounds in it and a big 15-to-1 scope sitting on top of it, is their everyday carry. Or them using that to defend their home with. Well, I've got my 375 H&H Magnum. It holds 3 rounds and it's got a hell of a lot of recoil and no iron sights on it. Just a scope. But I'm going to use that to defend my home because that's what I have and that's what I practice with. That's actually what I envision. Or I envision the person who says that their method to selecting a firearm, they say, man, I need to get something to defend myself with. So they just go to a gun shop and they fill out the form, the background check form ahead of time, hand it to the clerk behind the counter, and they say, hey, I'm going to blindfold myself. I just need a protection gun. You just pick something randomly off the shelf, 2,000 rounds of ammo for it, wrap it up and surprise me, and here's my credit card. I mean, is that what these people do? That's actually what I envision when someone makes that ludicrous statement. That's actually what I envision. Do you go to the gun store and do that? And so just wrap it up and surprise me. I'll find out what it is when I get home. Because it actually, the statement itself lends credence to the idea that it doesn't matter what you pick as long as you practice with it, right? It has no relevancy at all. That you should put no thought into the firearm. That there's no difference between this Glock 19 and this Glock 21 in terms of size, concealability, control. As long as you practice with one, it is the best choice for all scenarios. That is the best gun you could have as long as that's what you practice with. Well, these weapons have different applications. Here's the question I'm going to ask you. What if I practice every week with my Glock 21, this big full-size 45? Are you telling me that I'm not going to be able to accurately use my Glock 19 afterwards? It's got the same controls, the same trigger, but it's a different weapon, different recoil, it's smaller. So are you telling me that this marksmanship with this won't carry over to this, and so that I will now not be able to carry this for everyday carry? Because I've been practicing on this bigger weapon system with more recoil, that all of a sudden I magically won't be able to shoot the Glock 19 in self-defense, so I won't be able to carry this one now because I practice with this one more. I mean, that's almost the chain of logic. Well, that's absurd. I don't think that's a good way to think of things. I think that a person should put some thought into it. I don't care what you pick. You know, it's like we get in these big debates and people want to argue about a revolver versus a semi-auto. I don't think that's a good argument, to be fair. I wouldn't want a revolver for personal defense or everyday carry, other than maybe in bear country. And even then, it's only because of caliber choices, but you can get some pretty stout semi-autos. I don't think that any revolver is the best choice for EDC and personal defense, just because of the low capacity and the slow reload speed versus the size and weight of the weapon. Not saying they're terrible choices, but I would only go that route if that's all I had. Like if semi-autos were completely outlawed. Or I guess if I was completely broke and I had my grandpappy's revolver given to me, that's what I would carry, right? If I couldn't afford anything else. And I think that's the point that people come to. But here's the other thing. If you're limited to a situation to where you can only afford whatever gun, you have some firearm, any firearm that you've inherited or still have for whatever reason, and you're broke and you can't afford anything else, that logic might apply. Might apply. But if you're too broke to go buy a new decent handgun of your choosing for you, what you think is going to be ideal for your situation, then you're also too broke to practice. Where are you going to get money to practice to get ammo for it? What's going to happen if the ammo is really expensive for the choice you have? What happens then? I guess you just don't practice at all, right? Because if some weapon systems are so expensive to shoot that the amount of money you would spend getting proficient with it, you could just go buy a whole new handgun for less money than putting it through. Because what does proficiency take? About 2,000 rounds? Is that a fair statement? I think everyone would agree with that. Ballpark to get proficient with any given weapon, particularly if it's just a totally new platform to you. Again, if you've been training on a Beretta, you can probably change over to a Glock, and with less than this, you can gain proficiency on it. But to learn to use a semi-auto handgun, for example, about 2,000 rounds. It takes about 2,000 rounds to develop a base proficiency, and if you want that proficiency to carry over to a different platform, you're probably going to have to shoot 300 to 500 rounds through it to just get the habits and everything for a slightly different system. Right, to get really proficient at it, because the trigger is going to be different, the action is going to work a little different. But you're looking at the range of about 2,000 rounds. So at a certain point, I think you guys see where I'm going. What happens if you're shooting a weapon that costs you $1 every time you pull the trigger? Because that's what you happen to have. Maybe it's something you inherited. Maybe it's a little more opposite. Maybe it's a 44 Magnum. I don't know. Now, 2,000 rounds of 44 Magnum. You could just go buy a new handgun and 1,000 rounds of ammo for it for the same cost. Or even 2,000 rounds and then your carry ammo for the same cost. So I don't really buy this whole, well, just whatever you happen to practice with. Well, that doesn't mean that what you're practicing with is going to be an appropriate choice. And again, that's a logical fallacy. It's not being reasonable. It's not being rational. We should put thought into this. And like I said, I don't care. I don't care what you pick. Just put some thought into it. Maybe you think the Glock 19 and 9mm is your ideal choice, and a hell of a lot of people think this is their ideal carry choice. But maybe for your lifestyle and situation, the Glock 21 and 45 is a better choice. Now, note, I'm not knocking either choice because I'm sitting here with both on my desk. I have bought these. These are both firearms that I bought new at the gun shop personally. Both of these right here that I selected and bought myself, that I picked right there, right? So I'm not going to knock either choice because I've put my money in both. But these weapons have different roles, don't they? These weapons have different roles. I'm not going to use my Glock 19 for home defense if I have this. And I'm sure as hell not going to try to use this as a concealed carry weapon. But this one's probably a little better choice for that. Now, you could very easily go to a Glock 30S and get the same dimensions and drop that into the holster if you want a 45. It'll fit in the same holsters. But you guys see the point here. You need to put some thought into it. It's not unreasonable. And in fact, that's what people need to do when they are selecting their weapon that their life might one day depend on. Now, is it going to? Probably not. Probably not. But even the CDC had done a study a number of years ago, 1 year in a study, and they found that over 1 million violent crimes were prevented by legal firearm owners in 1 year. We're talking about something like, it ended up being like 0.5% of the American population every year stops some sort of crime, violent crime or felony, by being armed. Doesn't mean they necessarily shot, doesn't mean they necessarily killed anybody, but prevented it by being armed in some way. It's not unreasonable. And my point comes down to is when you look at it in light of that, your weapon selection is something serious. It's something you should put some thought into. And I'm not saying you need to go round and round and round in circular logic, but when you're picking a tool for a job, particularly a tool for a job in which your life could depend on it, because that is the reason you're picking it for that job, is in the event that your life depends on it, you should put a reasonable amount of thought and research into it, right? And what is ideal for your life situation might not be ideal for mine. There are plenty of safe choices. Like I said, the Glock 19 is a very safe choice. For the majority of people, this is not going to be a bad system for, personal defense. Not going to be a bad system. There are certainly worse choices you could make. This is kind of a safe bet. But people should put a little bit of time and research into it. They should put a little time and research into it. And they should think it through logically. Make sure that you're making a choice that you're confident and comfortable in. And that's all I'm saying. It shouldn't just be, well, whatever you have. Because we don't go to the gun shop and pick random guns blindfolded. We buy them with a purpose. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.